Brandon Sheppard went back-to-back in the World of Outlaws. He took home the checkered flag at Ponderosa Speedway and won the Billy Todd Classic. And this race was just as good as the race last night at Thunder Hill. The World of Outlaws is putting on a bunch of dandies. It is, I think, at least right now, they are putting on the better races. And I think they're just maybe just going to the better tracks at this point. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. And as I said, there were tons of storylines in this race. And right from the get-go, Cameron Marlar had a rear end damaged. He would not even be able to start the race, pulled it into the garage area. And then just 2 laps into the race, Cody Overton, the pole sitter, exited. We would find out later that he blew a motor. So his night would unfortunately end after starting on the pole and getting that redraw. And then Cade Dillard, who was also in the top 6 regional, he would have troubles as well. He was running in third. He would have a flat right rear after getting up into the cushion in turns 3 and 4. And then there was some really, really good action, though, on the restart. After that, Ryan Gustin just rocketed from like 5th to 2nd place. And then Mad Max McLaughlin was driving his car like a madman. He went up to 4th, and that really kind of shuffled Bobby Pierce back. And that would kind of be the story for Bobby Pierce for much of this race. He was really kind of getting shuffled back on a lot of restarts, having to check up, having to avoid potential accidents, and that really kind of set him back, was unable to allow him to kind of move forward and strike against Brandon Sheppard. He would eventually come home second with a last lap slide job pass for that second place position, but just didn't have enough time to track down and get to Brandon Sheppard and challenge him for the win. On lap 15, we would have a caution for some of the folks in the back, Dustin Linville, Justin Ratcliffe, and Dustin Walker. And then lap 17, we would just have a bunch of cautions, very similar to Thunder Hill here. We would get maybe about a quarter of the way through the race, closing in on about halfway through the race, and just caution after caution after caution here. So lap 17, there would be another caution as well with Brent Larson and Dustin Walker. And then on the restart, Larson would rejoin the field, but he would spin out again. And I think he would have a toe link that was eventually broken. They were able to diagnose that. And then on the next restart, we would get some really exciting racing here. Bobby Pierce, Mad Max McLaughlin were just kind of really going at each other there for some excellent, exciting racing for folks in the stands. Lap 21, we would get another caution, though. David Webb, Daniel Hilsebeck, and Dustin Walker would spin. And then in lap 21, Ryan Gustin would get into the wall. That would kind of ruin his chances. The car was never the same after that. Really kind of put him back. And then Zach Dome would jump up to 3rd. And there was some crazy 4-way racing here. Bobby Pierce, this is the part where he kind of got in the mix of it. Mad Max McLaughlin was up there. They were 4 wide coming out of turn 4. It was really hairy, but it was really exciting. Really enjoyed that part of the race. We go about 7 laps, and then lap 28 here. Actually have some video of this. The World of Outlaws shared a little bit of this. This is when Brandon Sheppard made his move on Nick Hoffman. Hoffman was dominating much of the race here in the lead, with Sheppard kind of just biding his time, tracking him down. Obviously really hard to do that with all of the cautions, and Hoffman was getting really good restarts, but Nick Hoffman was kind of his own worst enemy, just like last night, kind of beating himself here, as you'll see. Gets up into the wall, damages the spoiler, and that contact with the wall allows Sheppard to really just drive right underneath of him. Let's take a look here. Looking good so far, running that outside line where Sheppard's still kind of hugging the bottom there, runs in the middle of the line there, and then right there you see he gets up into the wall, damages the rear end of that car, damages that spoiler, and Sheppard drives right past him and ensures that he will not be able to get around him. Hoffman would try and kind of stay with him here, but you can see that he was really struggling there with, I think, with the aero on that car after the spoiler was damaged, and he would fade quickly after that. and no one would really have anything for Brandon Sheppard after that. He would kind of run away with it. We would have a caution on lap 34. Max McLaughlin actually got into the wall, and then there was a caution that came out for Ratliff. He was off the pace, not really sure what happened. Ryan Gustin would go to the hot pit to try and fix some of that damage I think that he had when he got into the wall earlier in the race, because he was kind of nursing it around. And that caution actually saved Max McLaughlin because he got in the wall, lost a bunch of positions. Excuse me. He lost a bunch of positions, but because the caution came out, they go back to the last lap and he was able to get back up into fifth. I think he had dropped maybe even out of the top 10 because he was really, really off the pace after making contact with the wall. I wasn't sure if it was him or Hilsebeck. They have really similar paint jobs and they both have the same number 22 on their car. So it's really hard to tell between those. So I thought it was Hilsebeck because Hilsebeck was getting lapped at that point as well. And it was just kind of hard to tell who was there. And I think they were just kind of running together really, but the announcers said it was McLaughlin. And then on lap 36 on the restart, there was some elbows out with Max McLaughlin and Bobby Pierce. However, Pierce would make some really good aggressive moves. He went from this is where Pierce dropped a bunch of positions here. He actually started in fourth and dropped back to eighth due to McLaughlin's very aggressive moves on the restart. And then Dome would actually get around Hoffman for second on lap 37. And that's when we really kind of started seeing Hoffman fade there. Obviously, you had a bunch of those cautions after he was passed by Sheppard, and he had a significant lead leading up to that. But once you get into these cautions and these restarts, he just and allowed the other guys to catch up. He just really didn't have anything to stay with them. And then 2 laps later, after Dome got around Hoffman, I'm just telling you, man, there was so much happening. It was just excellent racing. Lap 39, McLaughlin got into the wall. His entire deck lid was gone. It was literally like hanging by a thread off the back of his car. He was dragging it around the track. They threw the caution for him. Basically, if it was an asphalt race, he would have been black flagged. You could hear in the booth that they were telling him to go into the hot pit to fix the car, and he eventually did indeed do that. On lap 42, Pierce would do a slider on Hoffman and would get the 4th position. As I said, Hoffman kind of slowly sliding back here as we saw more and more of the cautions that allowed other drivers to catch up. And then we also saw Dale McDowell get around Hoffman as well in the same lap. And then lap 45, Pierce would move around Bronson into the 3rd spot, and then he would take about 3 laps to track down Dome. At one point on lap 48, he actually hopped the cushion, got into the wall, didn't think that he was going to be able to get back to Dome, didn't really have much time, lost a lot of pace there, but last lap, he was able to get to Dome and pull the slide job here going into 1 and 2. Let's take a look at this right here. This is on the screen. Right there's the slide job that Bobby Pierce does on Zach Dome, gets that 2nd position, and then Brandon Sheppard here bring it home on the last lap to win the race. Pierce up high and comes home in 2nd, Dome in 3rd. And here is Brandon Sheppard coming out of his car, celebrating the 2nd victory in 2 nights. Very well-deserved win there from Brandon Sheppard. This was a great race. The World of Outlaws is putting on excellent races, both at Thunderhill and at Ponderosa tonight. These are fantastic tracks. I look forward to all of the tours going to these tracks because these tracks put on an absolute show. As for the finishing order, here is how they look. Brandon Sheppard in 1st, Bobby Pierce 2nd, Zach Dome 3rd, Kyle Bronson 4th, Dale McDowell gets that top 5. As I said, Nick Hoffman faded to 6th with that damage that he had into the wall there. Dennis Earp Jr. in 7th, Tyler Bruning 8th, Michael Chilton in 9th. I think he was your hard charger. I think they said he was up like 10, maybe 12 spots, maybe even more than that. Cade Dillard rallied for a top 10 finish after after having that flat right rear on lap 11 and then getting up into that cushion. Ryan Gustin rallied for an 11th place finish after going into the hot pit after getting into the wall earlier in the race as well. Dustin Sorensen in 12th, Justin Ratliff in 13th. He rallied as well after a spin. Tristan Chamberlain in 14th, Brian Shirley in 15th, David Webb 16th, Dustin Linville 17th, Daniel Hilsebeck in 18th, Shane Bailey 19th, Dustin Walker 20th, Max McLaughlin. After the damage, he ended up 10 laps down in 21st. Definitely, I felt like had a top 5 car, but maybe just the hyper aggression eventually got the better of him, and he ended up 10 laps down in 21st. But he definitely made the race highly entertaining. I love seeing Mad Max in the race. I've been following him since he's been in asphalt modifieds. I love watching him race. Cody Mahoney in 22nd, Brent Larson in 23rd, Cody Overton in 24th, and then Cameron Marlar in 25th. So that is how they ended up in the World of Outlaws at Ponderosa. But let me know what you guys made of this race. Let me know in the comments below.